Hello everyone. Another Monday, so another live. I am jumping on to talk a little bit about my week. I've actually been away this week, and I want to talk about the experiences that I've had and help you guys to realize that not everything you feel is your own, in a nutshell. So really the point of this live is to help you to understand why being an observer in your own life, learning to use your intuition, lift your vibration a little bit, be able to sit in space and just watch what's happening in your life is so important. So on this lovely family trip we've just taken to Townsville, which is a 7-hour drive from where we live. We've been visiting family, we've had a lovely time. But what is very different about going into the city and being around other family members is their energy. So obviously where we live, we're very remote. We live on 6.5 acres. We have a lot of space. I can pretty much spend, every morning meditating in the garden or, being in my treatment room, which is where I am now. And I've kind of set up our environment to be very much supportive of the energy that I bring into our everyday life. And of course, when you take yourself out of that and then you go and stay with other people, not in your own homes, even if it's a similar environment, it's still draining on your energy system because it's not your routine, you're out of control. There's a lot of human tendencies that start to kick in there where you're not in your own space. And so it has been draining. I have found it draining. It's been wonderful. The kids have had an amazing time. But of course, they've eaten food which we wouldn't normally have. They've spent a lot of time on screens. They've just done a lot of things that we wouldn't normally do. They think it's amazing. They've had an amazing time with their cousins and Nana and Pop and friends, which is all really important. But after we left Townsville, we've been in Mackay for a few days as well on the way home, so we've just got back today. I started noticing that I was feeling very irritable. I was quite emotional. I'm trying to remember what day it was now. One of the days we left, I was very emotional. And I was sitting there wondering what on earth was going on, because I had been absolutely fine. And I started to become the observer. So this is where you are practicing not buying into the thought processes, not actually believing the thoughts that you're having, but becoming an observer, watching what is going on, what you're seeing yourself doing. And this is where practicing your intuition, using your intuition, practicing raising your vibration so you can pull yourself into a space where you're watching your behavior as opposed to just doing it blindly and subconsciously on autopilot acting it out. So some of the thoughts that were coming into my head were things like, oh, this has just been so hard, and why did I even come? It's all just too difficult. It's too stressful. I started to feel homesick. I was missing being in the UK and being with my family. Just lots of different things popping into my head that I have not thought about for months and months. Even with the whole thing to do with COVID, it really hasn't affected me, the idea. So my parents were supposed to come out to Australia and visit us in April, so over Easter, and obviously they couldn't come. And of course that was sad. I was sad that they couldn't come, but I haven't bought into that story. I haven't gone down that narrative of, oh God, it's so terrible, I really miss them, I'm not going to see them for all this time. And it's not that I haven't allowed myself, it just doesn't, I live in the moment. So when I'm in the moment, I'm not thinking about the future. I'm not living in the future now going, oh my God, but this could happen. Oh my God, but that could happen. And I'm not living in the past thinking, oh, but I miss them so much. I remember when we did X, Y, and Z, and I can't do that with them now because we're not there, and I don't know when I'll be able to go back and see them. If you're in the now moment, everything actually is divine, and it's okay because you're in the now. Right now, I'm okay. Everything is fine. I'm happy. My children are happy. We're all healthy. But I got pulled off center. And it wasn't me, it wasn't my stuff. It was because I am not in my own environment. It's because I'm being bombarded with other people's energy. Not necessarily negative energy, it's just different. I'm not used to it. I don't live in that environment, so I'm not used to consistently interacting with noise, with screens, with just people, and just even being in a city, that's different. So it's not bad, it's just that the way that my body responded to that was to feel very tired, my resilience dropped, and all of a sudden I was emotional because I couldn't cope. So I was irritable, I was teary, I was just crying about things. And Chris has said to me, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know." So, and again, a lot of us women particularly experience this PMT, which we all know. You kind of have that build up and you don't really know why you're emotional. But I don't have PMT because my cycle is very regular, and it definitely wasn't that. So as I sat there wondering what on earth was going on, I wasn't sucked into that density of the emotion. I was actually just sat there watching myself going, this is really interesting. You're having a lot of negative thoughts. You're, not able to cope. You're irritable. Really stupid things that normally do not bother me. They used to when I was living that density and living that energy of push and busyness and stress and chaos. Everything irritated me. Chris irritated me all the time. And now very few things bother me because I don't live under that immense amount of pressure, and I don't live in that energy anymore. And it's because over time I've just learned to raise my vibration a little bit more, to become more intuitive, to learn to observe what happens instead of believing hook, line and sinker in the story that I'm creating in my head. And so that entire process over the last 7 days has been a massive learning curve for me, just to watch it play out. And I've experienced this feeling of emotion when we go and visit the family, and again, not because it's negative, but because it's different. And this is the first time that I've come away and sat there and gone, okay, I actually have a choice about whether I buy into that thought process and the dense energy that I'm holding and allow it to take over and to become overwhelmed, because I was teetering on the edge of literally falling off and feeling like this was all real. I'm not going to see my parents and my family, and I'm going to be, it's going to be years before we're allowed to travel and all this kind of stuff, which could be really, really overwhelming if you sat in that feeling. And so there was literally this entire point where I had a choice, and it's like two roads. I could choose to stay in a higher vibration, breathe, always, always, always coming back to that breath, because that is your true center. When you're just breathing and you're just listening to your breath, you're in the now moment. Simple as that. So doing that, just breathing and choosing to stay in that higher vibration energy, recognizing that yes, these thoughts are there, yes, the emotion is there, yes, I'm struggling, but not to fully buy into it, or to basically fall off the wagon, feel completely overwhelmed, get angry, get irritable, be pissed off with Chris and think it's all his fault because he's not supporting me and you don't understand how I feel, and all of this stuff I could feel bubbling up that I wanted to say, and all of the stuff I was throwing out at him because he, you hate coming to visit my family, and he was getting defensive, and I could see it all. It's happened 100 times before. But this time I was aware enough to be able to recognize that none of this energy was mine. Yes, it's affecting me. Yes, I'm feeling dense. Yes, I'm feeling tired and emotional and have no resilience. But I had a choice. I could choose to stay there and to let it literally affect me and continue to fall off that cliff and go into the overwhelm. Or I can just stay in the vibration and go, okay, we're going to be home in a few days. This is temporary. This is purely just because your energy is normally here and it's dropped. And now you're struggling. And I still feel it. Like, we've only just got home, so I'm still feeling a bit dense and a bit like, I need to shift those feelings. But I was proud of myself for being able to recognize what was happening instead of just buying into the story. So this live really is just about showing you that it's not to say, you know, that every single thing that you feel is your stuff. Sometimes it just triggers you because you don't have the resilience anymore because your energy is low. And we can actually just relate to that even with tiredness. We all know with our kids that if you have a really bad night's sleep and you get up the next morning, you've got nothing. You're tired. So you are more irritable, you are more emotional. Same with stress. If you've got a lot of stress going on because you've got a deadline or something to do with work or you've taken on too much, we all know what happens. We can't cope as well. So your energy is just being affected. It doesn't matter what the external thing is, but I just want you to be aware that your environment and where you're putting yourself can affect you in this way, exactly the same as if it was you who had not had a good night's sleep or you who was under pressure. None of that stuff has happened to me. All I've done is take myself out of my little comfort bubble of nice energy where I can meditate and keep my vibration high. And I've been somewhere where I haven't been able to do that as much and my energy's dropped. And I've absorbed other people's energy for a week and it's tiring. So just be aware of it and then notice when it affects you. Notice when you suddenly, like a switch, are like, oh God, I'm getting cranky, I'm irritated, you know, I'm emotional, I feel angry, I'm having negative thoughts go round and round and round. When you notice that, stop and think, well, what have I done? Who have I been talking to? Where have I been? What pressures am I under? And notice that you have choices. You always, always, always have a choice. It's not an easy choice. It's not easy to pull yourself out and realize that you don't have to go down that road, because we can easily justify. Our ego is brilliant at telling us, yeah, but you have to do that thing, and if you don't do it, you're a bad person. It's great, it's easy. Makes us feel like we're not good enough. And then, of course, off we go again with all those other stories. So just be aware of all of this. Be aware that it's not always you. Sometimes your energy is affected by the things around you, and it means that the density pulls you into those stories, pulls you down into that stuff. Okay? Be the observer, use your intuition, keep your vibration high. Okay? They're the 3 things that you really need to do to lift that energy up. Okay, guys, big love to you all. Have an amazing week, and I'll catch you all very, very soon. See ya.